And welcome back to Not That Kind of Doctor, the podcast where two guys with too many degrees and too many opinions talk about things that actually matter. I'm Nick. I'm an associate literacy professor, K6 here at UNL. I totally messed that up, but hey, this is what you do when you switch up format on me.
I am so sorry about switching the format. I'm Guy. I'm a professor of innovative learning technologies here at UNL, and today, before we get started, I do want to tell you, I just went to a conference, and in that conference, I met a lovely young man. Everybody's young for me lately, so... and he is getting his second PhD. This time, he's got a PhD in education, and he's getting a PhD in computer science because he wants to work with AI. And his... efforts at finding somebody to work with that would actually do the work did not go well, so he decided he's getting a second PhD. I don't know about you.
Ooh, a second PhD. Another PhD.
Yes, all because he couldn't find the right person to work with.
I may have just thrown up in my mouth a little. Like, isn't there a better way to get a project off the ground than getting a second PhD? That seems extreme.
It does seem extreme. I've seen a few people do that or do other things that are in that vein. And that's exactly the irony of the way we run really graduate school. And that is we really emphasize you have to do everything on your own. You got to do this on yourself. Your dissertation is you. Your pilot study is just you. This is how we construct this on the way. And honestly, we need to talk about that, which is what we're going to talk about today.
So today, we're going to talk about research collaboration, how to find the right people, how to actually work with them once you do, and then most importantly, how to close out a collaboration without it ending a friendship or a tenure case or, your will to live.
Table stakes.
Table stakes. Let's go.
All right. So...
hold on. You gotta dance.
Oh, okay. I'm dancing. There's two white guys dancing, I think. I'm not sure about that segment anymore. Anyway, I know what I look like.
It gets cut out.
Oh, it does?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my head. It's a placeholder, so he knows to take it out and put the logo and the theme music in.
He's enjoying it too much.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So, how do you start collaborating? What's your story about finding collaborators?
I don't. No, lies.
I'm feeling unseen right now.
The sarcasm, Guy. The
Okay.
sarcasm.
Okay, noted. Yes.
That was sarcasm.
So how does it happen?
So normally okay. So just like, how do I want to put this?
Carefully.
I do want to put this carefully.
Yeah.
Because collaboration one is a relationship.
Yes.
Right? And
Very
so I typically, pursue collaborators with the same kind of energy I bring to my dating life, with my collaboration life actually going much better. I see that face.
Yes. I was getting worried there for a second.
I see that face. Much better as a collaborator than as a romantic partner. I understand this. It's fine.
You've made your peace?
This is why I'm in therapy.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
But normally it comes out of what are some common interests? What are some common work? That what are the skill sets? What do we bring to the relationship? Et cetera, et cetera. And then we talk through those things and then think through, okay, how can we work together and move through that? So it normally starts with shared interests, shared things, and I'm thinking about being very clear, essentially the equivalent of the dating. So talk to me about your retirement plan conversation, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you hope to get out of this meeting? I have a meeting with Justin later today, actually, where he's like, I need some help with some data about some reading. Could we collaborate? Sure. What's your retirement plan, Justin? Yeah. What do you want out of this? And then just thinking through and about how all of the collaborators feel valued and positioned well within that work. Did that answer your question?
A little bit, yeah. And but if you take it one step back, where do you find the collaborators? Is maybe the first step. Is how do you figure out who's worth working? Not worth. That's a bad word. But who to even start that conversation with?
So part of that comes down to, like, you've talked about this when we've talked about conferences and whatnot. So I went to that conference on Friday, right? It was Zoom. It was amazing. Oh my gosh, highly recommended, 5 out of 5. You can present and clean your kitchen. Was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Sticky notes on my fridge about all the things I was learning. But out of that, you know, there were several people who reached out over the Zoom chat and were like, hey, I'm thinking about this, da-da-da-da-da-da, would you be la-la-la-la-la-la? And so there is that, like, that's kind of the cold calling part of it. But then I also have some academic siblings that we've collaborated for a really long time together. And they bring in new people, I bring in new people. We continue to do those kinds of work. And so it's often... you know, they talk about the friendship marketplace.
Yeah.
This is like the collaboration-ship marketplace, right? You're looking at who's out and available to do some collaboration. What are the things that they're trying to get done? What are you trying to get done? How do you find some middle ground there? So it's a combination of cold calling and then also like building up a cadre of people I've collaborated with in the past who I can pull into new things as they pop up if they're interested.
If they're interested, because much like the dating or the friendship marketplace, right? The people you know and trust are considerably easier to work with than somebody new, where you have to figure out what they can do, how would they respond, and all of these things. So definitely rely on your existing networks. This is where keeping in touch with people that you went to school with, I would argue, if you had a good collaboration during that time, that's great. I came here because there was a person, Kathy Wilson, who came a year before me. We were already working together. That was a good match, and we continued working. But had we gone to different institutions, we probably would have continued working as well, because we had shared interests, shared plans, an understanding of how we work together, and that's priceless. Same thing about conferences. In conferences, you're doing kind of the speed dating. Right? Conferences are speed dating.
It's a good way to put it.
Because you can talk to lots of people and start a lot of ideas that you're not committed to and they're not committed to. And then you kind of, through the aftermath of the conference, after the conference high is down, at least for me, I have a conference high and I talk to 20 people and we have great ideas for collaborations. And then reality sets in, and that's I cannot start 20 new research ideas right now. But out of those, maybe 1 or 2 will become permanent working relationship that can last over many years. And after a while, the other place that I find a lot of collaborators is graduate students. So once they've graduated and they're in their position, if we have shared interest and there's a lot of trust, there's a shared understanding, there's a shared history. So again, you can move forward. And I am right now working with about 6 or 7 of my doctoral students from the past. And some of them have graduated 10 years ago. So it's not like they just left and were working on getting their dissertation out as a piece. It's actually long after that and many years. And some of them come back 5, 6, 7 years after and say, hey, can we work on a piece? So that is where you find and you start looking for early signals. And that's where I want to kind of transition. And that is, how do you know if it's the right collaborator?
Well, and I think I also want to kind of wheel back around to that notion of trust.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So thinking about how do you establish trust? How do you know if it's the right collaborator for that particular project? And I think this is where having some really concrete conversations around things are helpful.
Yes.
And concrete in terms of like, here's my work habits. Here's when I sound like I'm being blunt, I'm really trying to be truthful and honest, and that's never directed at someone. Or when we set up a deadline, I'm going to try my best to meet that deadline based upon the other things that are going on in my job. I might need an extra 24 hours, et cetera, et cetera. Those kinds of things that, are important for working together. And oftentimes it's just this, we're going to collaborate, right? And it's just this rainbow and collaboration. It's going to be delightful, but that's really work. And
it's a different kind of work.
It's a different kind of work. And understanding, one, how your collaborators work individually. Like Julie Rust, we've had her on the podcast before. Yep. She and I have written together before. And she works in a really different manner than I do. And that could potentially drive someone crazy. Like there are certain people who like, you have to work the way that I work.
Yeah.
And that's not collaboration. That is you being
my worker.
Like that's that's not okay.
Yeah.
Right. But because I knew that, and even when we were writing as a five-some, we knew when people were able to do the work and when that would show up and So we had really clear understandings of how each other worked and then how we worked as a group. And so there was this individual space and then this collaborative space. Here's how we're actually moving as a team toward getting that in.
And for me, because I have quite a few collaborations running in parallel, I think about it in two ways. One is you do not put the future of your career in one collaboration. It might work. I mean, I know people that have...
Look at Fisher and Fry.
Yeah, exactly. There's that potential, but you don't want to bet on that because those are actually very rare to find your soulmate, as it were, research-wise.
Right.
And academically. That's one way to do things that's just as likely to happen as love at first sight when you walk on campus the first day. I don't know. It's a bad analogy. Forget that.
I mean, but I appreciate that you're trying to extend my terrible analogy from earlier, so thank you.
You're welcome. But so I have a few collaborations, knowing that some of them would go nowhere, but there are enough of them that something would move forward, and I have something that I completely own, and I'm developing on my own. So I am not, right now I frankly don't care. As a full professor, I'm fine.
Professor. I don't care.
Yeah, that. But if you're still building a career and you still need to get to tenure and promotion, you do not want to hang everything you have on somebody else's ability to perform because you don't know. And one of the things that I try to find out as early as possible is exactly what incentives do they have. Because if they're not academics, their incentive to get, that hard grind that happens when 80% of the manuscript is done, or you've submitted it and now you got to do corrections, that's where incentives work because that is the least fun part of the process. And it drags, and it's been 2 years since you collected the data, or sometimes more.
Stop looking at me, guy. I know.
And you're like, this is the time where if you don't have a good reason to do this, you're going to drop out. You're like, I'm out. I have other things to do. I barely remember what this paper was about. It doesn't matter for my life. And so incentives matter a lot. And the style of work and the commitment to this partnership matters a lot. And so I try to suss it out fairly early. And the way I do that, besides conversations, is to actually do a small project together, a proposal for a conference that is fairly low threshold, or an IRB or something. And you learn very quickly through that work how much you can lean on somebody and how much they're true partners, or are they really saying, I'm a junior partner, I would support this and I would go along, but you've got to lead. And those are very different kinds of collaborations.
So speaking of these collaborations, right, because there unfortunately is kind of a hierarchical order in collaborations, particularly if they result in a published piece.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, and I'm hoping the answer is a Hunger Games-like competition, how you decide, like, first author, second author, third author, 18th author. How does that work? Also, when is it, I love this, when is it an and when is it a with?
Yes.
So talk to me about that, because I have my own rules.
So for me, it really depends on the team you're working with. If it's a close team within the institution, we talk it out and it's fairly informal, and that's fine. The minute you go outside your immediate circle of people you know well, you need to formalize this. And we start formalizing. I'm in favor of agreements, of collaboration agreements. Write out the rules, but don't make it a 17-page document. Please make it a one-page document. It needs to be clear. It needs to have mechanism to resolve specific problems, but not to write a rule for anything that might happen, because that is not functional. We right now have a cross-institution collaboration with 7 other institutions. That's complicated to handle. So we created a set of rules. We actually use the Open Science Framework to store all the rules. So there's a neutral site that everybody's got access to, even though we initiated. And then for the idea is that this leads to more than one outcome. So it leads to multiple conference papers with proceedings, without proceedings, and a few papers. So there's more than one opportunity to be first author. That relieves that tension. And then before the writing starts, we talk about who's taking lead, and that's the first author, and then kind of cascading from there. And beyond the third author, it doesn't really matter. Who's 7th and who's 8th? I love being last. Actually, in some of the hard sciences, that's where the mentor puts themselves is the last person in that list. So there's a lot of people in the middle. You know, in the physics papers, there's like 500 names and all of that. So it's like, you want to be first, you want to be last. You don't want to be number 137. I mean, it's fine. It's still your publication, but it's different. But we try to decide as early as possible. And I started using COPE because I have collaborations across institutions. So COPE has a website. They have a lot of materials about publishing in general. And it's like, what kind of contributions count? And you're an author. And what kind of contributions are, thank you for helping us collect the data. You're acknowledged, but you're not a co-author at that point. So those are the things that I try to codify without, producing manuscripts about how we collaborate. That for me is critically important. And lately, again, this is something I've just started in the last couple of years after I've had some problematic partnerships that dissolved.
He's looking at me again.
No, and that is not. This is not the partnership that has dissolved. So, but I've had some.
Hopefully not, because if it has, you are acting really well.
Anyway, but I've learned that making sure that there's a common shared understanding a priori, so when we bring new partners into this partnership, because now we've got 7 institutions and we may grow, there's a set of understandings. And we bring everybody into these understanding and saying, these are the core documents that we use. If you're fine with it, great. If not, thank you very much. We're moving on. So there's that. And I think the larger and the more diverse the collaboration, the more you need those documents.
Right.
And because you don't always need them.
And we tend to, in collaborations I've done, like you lay out, like, this is, if you want to be lead author, this is what you're responsible for.
Yes.
Like, and we really clearly lay that out. You are responsible for shepherding it through the submission process. You are responsible for a certain amount of framing, and you're like doing the coordination. But there's also been times where we've constructed articles or book chapters together, and then there's no real lead author to it, and
that can get difficult.
And that's when we're like, I mean, really what we did was, this is alphabetical. Here's why it's alphabetical, because we can't figure out, and we acknowledge that in the manuscript, right? Very clearly. And then the other thing that I've run into is like people on grants have given me money to do something, and they're like, you can write with it. And so I do. I have IRB, yada yada yada. But then they don't want to write on that, and that's where the with, I find, comes in helpful. So like their name will be in the byline, but it's a with versus an and.
Yes,
and I feel like that distinction is important to me because it feels like it's more than an acknowledgement.
Yes, it's more than acknowledgement, but less than authorship.
Right.
And that's hard. Some journals, which I love, actually ask, what did each person on the author list, what did they actually do? So there's a clear recognition of what their contribution was.
And so when you're thinking about tracking changes in a document, that's become really helpful.
Yeah.
It has been for years. I don't know why it was just like, oh, that's new. Like tracking changes just came out. But it's been really, really useful in terms of helping us think that kind of stuff through.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And so, have you had any partnerships that ended? Collaborations?
Badly?
Or at all?
I mean, I feel a bit like you, where I just collect people.
Yeah.
And then once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that once you're in, we're always in an active collaboration around something, like just the way that works. I've not really ever had a collaboration break down completely. Like we've had...
Sometimes it just die, with a whisper.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like there was a period of time where a group of 5 of us were really getting lots of stuff out. And then I think we kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
And we've been in talks to get back into that groove again, which is fun and exciting, right? But I haven't had one crash and burn yet.
So I have.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It took a little bit to manage. That's why I started codifying. I thought it was one kind, which was the kind that is close enough, and there's a shared understanding that we did not need an agreement. We did need an agreement, so we created an agreement, and some people have left that partnership. And that happens, I think, especially if graduate students are part of grants, that's going to happen anyway. There's going to be a cycle of people in and out. And so thinking about how do you manage this, what are the commitments, and when it goes badly, it's going to hurt because people get hurt, relationships get hurt. If there's publications or grants involved, that means somebody's on the out and not enjoying the benefits of that. And I found that because the publication process can be long, while they were heavily involved in the research at an earlier stage, it gets to the point where they're like, I'm not sure I want my name on this because I have not been fully engaged in this writing process that has been going on now, 6th revision. Yes, I'm looking at you. You know who I'm talking to. 6th revision, and they're like, I left this partnership 2 years ago, right? Do I feel like my name needs to be there? But my strategy is, if we had an agreement that your name is on it and you've done enough to be either with or and, then I'm going to keep your name there and I'm going to keep checking in with you for you to say, yes, I'm comfortable, or no, please take my name off. And I'm fine with either, but I'm going to check in. And I will say that I had one person who said, I think my name needs to be off. And I said to them, you've done a lot of work early on. Tremendous, a very heavy lift. And I know you've not been part of this writing process through some of these iterations. But if you feel comfortable with the text, we would love to have you in a significant place in the order because you've done this heavy lift early on. And so that keeps on going. And I think it's really important to be fair. We're not punishing anybody. And if we made an agreement, we're sticking with that agreement. I think that breaking agreements, even if something has broken in the partnership for whatever reason, I think that you have to keep the agreement as you write them. And you have to also, in that one page, talk about how people decouple from the agreements and from the research and what happens to if they brought data, what happens to that data. All of that has to be negotiated because otherwise this is a recipe for something that will linger and on you as the collaborator, on the other people in the collaboration, and of course on the people who decided to break it off.
Great.
So while I collect people though, I do want to say one more thing, and that is while I collect people, we define projects, we bound projects. So there's a chance for both sides, after that piece is done, to say, we want to open another one or we're done. That gives everybody an off-ramp that doesn't feel like it's disruptive. And somebody can say, this was great, we got some things out, we're really excited about the work, but also my bandwidth does not allow me to participate in the next one. And so I'm gently getting off the highway and stopping at the McDonald's.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like they're still in orbit, but maybe they're an asteroid and not a planet.
Yeah.
Right, and that's okay.
Absolutely. We all need, we can overcommit. Not that I'm looking in the mirror right now, but we can overcommit to projects, and then we need to start paring things down. And that's also important.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you've been taking notes, have you?
I have not.
I have not seen you
this entire time. When
but if you're listening while you're driving, please don't take notes.
No, don't do that. Don't crash.
Just listen. It's okay. Take notes when you get home. The short version is be intentional about who you choose to collaborate with. Be very explicit about how this is going to work out. Make agreements. And be kind about endings.
Also, be boring. Boring and explicit. That is going in my dating profile. It's the headline. Boring and explicit.
I want a dinner out of that.
Okay.
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 Yeah, if it works only if it works.
We do live in Nebraska.
All right, so.
Oh. See, this is why we need a collaboration agreement. Dinner, yes. I can do that.
Okay.
Yes, with it. You shifted the format on me, guy.
I know I shifted the format. And the truth about collaboration is things do break down. And they fall apart exactly at the cracks between the things you talk about and the things you don't talk about, but make assumptions everybody understands. So
have the conversations? Is that where I'm at?
Yes.
Okay.
Have the conversations. Have it in your dating profile.
Okay. Great. Okay. So we skip that with
it.
Right. Okay. Back on it. This was not in the collaboration agreement. We have a template.
And I started making it up.
So, exactly. Have these conversations. Have them. Even when they're awkward, even when, it's, hey, Nick, where's that paper?
Where is that paper?
Yeah, I showed you exactly where it is on my desk. Literally have it printed out. Like, it's not as though it's not in my head and, haunting my nightmares.
So thank you for spending some time with us on Not That Kind of Doctor. And if this was useful, share it with a colleague, share it on social media, help us get famous. It's a goal.
I mean, that's your goal.
Yeah, I know. It's my goal. My goal.
His goal. I always wanted to be a writer because the only way that they're famous is with the picture on the back of the book cover, but that has now changed. Gosh darn it, technology. But anyway, if you have a collaboration horror story, something that keeps you awake at night still, yes, let us know in the comments. We want to hear it. Make Guy famous. He wants to be famous.
And find us on Substack.
Yes.
We write regularly or semi-regularly.
We're restarting.
Yes, we're restarting.
We're restarting. That was the
And
theme.
we'll have some more resources. And so comments are appreciated, and we'll see you.
Yeah, because we're not hard to find.
No.
We've got lots of degrees.
Lots of degrees.
Now I'm thinking about a second PhD.
In computer science. Before this gets worse.